On Language Police today, I have a very gifted accomplice, a gentleman who I've known for many years, a broadcaster, a communications expert, and I'm happy to welcome Prince Bisi Olatilo.
Thank you very much, Bimbo. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for honoring the invitation. You know, I have always envied your ability to speak the three major Nigerian languages. You speak Yoruba, you speak Igbo, you speak Hausa fluently. Do you know how to read and write these languages?
Before I joined Radio Nigeria, I was a total novice in terms of writing or reading. But when Radio Nigeria introduced Radio Nigeria 3, the indigenous languages service that had Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and Pidgin, they had professionals who actually helped in grounding some of us better in both writing and reading.
Okay.
So to some extent, yes, but I can't lay claim to writing and reading, but I speak well.
Now, you chose to be a broadcaster, and of course, the language that we are familiar with is English. Is that the language that you're most comfortable communicating in?
Certainly, yes. Although I speak Igbo, I only learned Igbo in the north.
Oh, you lived in the north at a point?
I was born in the north, 53 to 66 when I left. Throughout my stay there, 13 years before I went over to secondary school, in my home place, my father insisted I had to do that. I couldn't speak a smattering of Yoruba.
So you grew up speaking Igbo and Hausa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, minus Yoruba, my own mother tongue.
Yes.
And a little bit of English. But when we got to the, Kiriji Memorial College, that's where I went to secondary school. That's when I began to speak English, and English now took over.
All right. You run your own channel, and you have broadcasters that work for you. What kind of guidelines or tips do you give them in terms of presentation and speech?
I have a lot of problem when it comes to...
Is it pronunciation?
When we call them for auditioning, it's a big problem. I have a problem with pronunciation there. So I do quite a lot in terms of training and reading of the scripts with most of them that will finally shortlist to have. Out of about 15, we may not be able to shortlist more than 2. Before they read any script, we must go through the scripts with them. But that's not the way it should be. So the question is, where is the problem?
It is interesting to me that the H sound, I think people generally call it the H factor, that the H factor is one that seems to bedevil so many people.
The major problem is the Yoruba area. They are the ones that have a problem with the H. Is the power of the languages themselves, the power of our culture. I mean, how do you explain somebody who is natural, who is predominant of Hausa, Igbo, from the Niger Delta, also having this problem, just because they've lived there for so long a time?
It really doesn't make sense. Why I think it is almost bordering on ridiculous is because, at least in the Yoruba language, the H sound, the H sound, it exists, it's there.
Well, I have not been able to wrap my head around that and get the answers to that. I've been speaking to a friend of mine who's a professor of linguistics. He says he doesn't know how it came about.
Wow.
It's flying in the air.
If you could have a look at these.
Okay.
Okay, if you look at the top 2 words there.
Yes.
We have his
and
is. Okay, can you think of a sentence that could demonstrate the thing that is commonly done?
His brother is his greatest enemy.
Typically, we would hear, is brother his his brother his greatest enemy.
And they mess it up in the end.
And it doesn't make sense.
But I can assure you that there's a lot of work going on it now.
Okay.
In the different schools, they're all aware of this. That teachers are taking their time to see how they can change these things.
Okay. How about hate and ate?
My brother hates me because 8 of his friends like me more than they do, more than they love him.
Okay, so what we would hear is, my brother hates me because 8 of his friends love him more.
I just hope that most of the guys who mix things up are watching and listening and taking notes.
Wow.
Because some of them have to begin training afresh on this.
Last one now.
Okay,
Let's look at, shall we look at the last pair?
Hand and hand.
Hand and hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
My hand and his hand.
My hand.
Are looking different.
My hand and his hand. My hand
Hey.
is and look different. How about that?
What I think both of us should try and do is to try and maybe run master classes on this.
Bisi?
Because most of them don't see anything wrong with it.
I have a feeling that most people don't hear it.
No, that's why I'm saying that we need to pay more attention to this and make it a special duty on our part. That is a problem, and I can't stick it. I can't stand it.
Well, it's not. It doesn't sound pleasant. That is true. It jars each time you hear it.
How would this kind of stations that we hear them on? Why would they permit such to happen?
Maybe
without mentioning their names.
Yes, but
there's so many of them around.
There's a possibility that perhaps the people who employed them, or even the people who own those stations, are in that same category. They don't hear it. Bisi, thank you so much for coming on Language Police. I think you've been a pretty effective police officer.
Well, I did. But before I go,
yes,
there's a matter we must pay more attention to now.
Okay.
Before Nigeria breaks up before our eyes. Can we use language to bring us back
together? But then, we have more than 520 languages and dialects in Nigeria.
Yes.
How do you bring Nigerians together with 520 different languages?
Did we not talk about Pidgin English? That it's been on the drawing board for a long time. We used it. We're trying to see how Pidgin English can become a lingua franca. Binds all of us together.
We
can speak Pidgin, and we'll be able to communicate properly with ourselves, with one another.
Well, what I'm going to take away from this conversation, 2 things really. The need to pay more attention to this H factor, and the fact that language could be a major unifying factor for Nigerians.
The more together we are, the better.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on the program. I'm really happy that you spent some time with me. Good time.
Thank you.
Good quality time with me.
Thank you very much.